Dave Bolger here, and welcome to Had I Known, conversations with interesting members of the Hamilton College community. This week's guest is Missy Segall, class of 2021. All right. Gonna start off this week with a bit of breaking news. Got a news flash that came in this week. I'm gonna read it here. Actually, it was an email, so it's not on a printed piece of paper, but I felt like for radio theater purposes, hearing the breaking news flash paper somehow worked better. I don't know. But we got some breaking news. For those of you who enjoyed my conversation with Fred Rogers about the Hamilton Cemetery, and particularly the bit where he talked about the tomb of the unknown Hamiltonian, well, we can now call Fred Detective Rogers because he seems to have cracked the case. Apparently, Fred is consulting on the selection of portraits for the trustee room in Buttrick Hall, and one of the current portraits is of the Reverend Henry Mandeville, who was a one-time trustee and professor of moral philosophy and belles lettres. That's as good as you're going to get from me with French. He was at the school from 1841 to 1849. He introduced public speaking to the school. So as Fred says, we have him to thank for Hamilton's age-old educational calling card. So, as you heard, Fred being a good historian and being well-prepared and well-researched, he wanted to defend the Reverend Mandeville's portrait, so he did some digging. Well, it turns out the Reverend Mandeville's son was a class of 1849, and he, along with his parents, are in the cemetery. Well, in poking around, Fred stumbled upon an internet mention of a Henry Mandeville, age 20, who is buried in the Hamilton Cemetery with no headstone. He was the grandson of the professor. Aha! Fred had cracked the case. So he rechecked our old lists. No mention of Henry the Younger in the cemetery. A bit further check, the 1877 Hamilton Literary Monthly, a forerunner of the Alumni magazine, confirms that the young Henry was indeed buried on College Hill. And by the way, plot 269 of The Unknown Hamiltonian is right next to his grandfather, Professor Mandeville. Case closed. But as Fred points out, the mystery still remains. Why no headstone? Why no listing anywhere? So still some things to find out, but Detective Rogers is on the case. So if you enjoyed that episode, thought you'd enjoy that breaking news. I should probably get some breaking news music. If you haven't heard that one yet, well, oops, spoiler alert. He talks about the tomb of the unknown Hamiltonian, who's now known. But if you haven't heard that one, you can get it anywhere you get your podcasts, or go to hadiknown.buzzsprout.com. Now, last week, I mentioned at the beginning that it seems like Hamilton hockey is churning out some fine people based on my conversation with Sammy Johnson and Chad Varney. Well, we're going to keep it with Hamilton hockey this week and talk to Missy Segall, class of 21. Pretty incredible story. Imagine having your senior hockey season wiped out because of COVID and having to come to terms with the fact that your junior season was the last hockey you'll ever play. And then imagine getting contacted by the Buffalo Beauts of the Premier Hockey Federation, telling you that they're interested in drafting you to play professional hockey. Yes, if you didn't know, Hamilton has a professional hockey player playing right now. So it was fun to get to talk to Missy about that experience and what it's like playing in the PHF right now. For those that don't know, the Premier Hockey Federation is the first ever women's hockey league to pay its players. And it seems like there's some positive momentum. Here's a league that gives a cut of every jersey and shirt sold with the player's name on it. And recently announced that they're doubling the salary cap for next season, so putting more money into the players' pockets. Now, it doesn't seem like any of the players are getting rich or making, NHL type money yet, I hope. But it seems like they're heading in the right direction. And in the meantime, because it's not get rich sort of salaries just yet, a lot of these women are working other jobs. And I talked to Missy about that. Now, I was catching Missy for this conversation at an interesting time in her season schedule, in that when we chatted earlier this week, she was just days away from a trip to Boston to play the Boston Pride. So this was shaping up to be a homecoming of sorts for Missy, who grew up just outside of Boston. So I'm recording this intro bit on Saturday night before releasing this Sunday morning. So I'm just back from seeing the first of 2 games of Missy's homecoming. Got to take my daughter to go see the Beauts play the Pride, and it was a heck of a game. It was a lot of fun. It was the first hockey game my daughter had ever seen. She was rooting hard for Missy. Sorry to all the Boston fans out there. But it was a great game. Missy skated on the first line to start the game and played well. It was fun to watch a bit of a two-way forward sort of style play with Missy playing hard. She talks about how she's playing a bit of a different style, skating hard, skating harder to maximize her time on the ice, and I could see that happening. The game was a rough loss for the Beauts. They let up the game-winning goal under 2 minutes left to go. Exciting game. Good one. Now, if you're interested in seeing the second game of Missy's homecoming, that game is 1 o'clock today, if you're listening to this when the episode comes out on Sunday. So 1 o'clock Sunday, February 27th. You can watch it on ESPN Plus or Twitch. You can get all the information at buttes.premierhockeyfederation.com. And that's Beauts, Beauts. She played hard in game 1. Hope the Beauts can pull out a win for her in game 2. Either way, it was a lot of fun. And in our conversation, Missy talked about being a young girl with dreams of playing professional hockey and how she's now serving as a role model and inspiration to a new generation of girls. And it was such a delight to see my daughter taking inspiration from these hardworking, tough women playing a tough sport and playing it damn well. A lot of fun. And it was fun to talk to Missy and get to know her. She's living out a dream. How cool is that? So have a listen. Hope you enjoy this conversation with Missy Segall, class of 2021. I like your hat.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. I very much appreciate it.
Of course.
Much has been made about Guy Hebert and his foray into professional hockey. We gotta celebrate the women playing professional hockey as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually not the only one who has played professionally out of the program. Sam Walther, who was a senior when I was a freshman, played a little bit in this league as well. So
awesome.
I don't think she's still playing, but there has been someone above me, which is kind of cool.
There you go. And you couldn't get out of upstate New York, huh?
No, apparently not. And I literally, when I was leaving Hamilton in the spring, I'm from Wellesley, so like right outside Boston, and
yep.
Lived there my entire life. And when I was leaving college last spring, I was like, I'm never coming back up here. I literally said that to my brother on the phone, and then the other day I was on a FaceTime with him, and I was wearing a Genesee beer sweatshirt. I was opening a can of oats, or like my box of oats from Wegmans, and had I think I had my Hamilton hat on, and he was like, "You said you were never leaving upstate New York. You seem like you're stuck there now."
You are a native now. You're full on. You're one of them.
Definitely feel like I've been here for a while now, so that's kind of cool.
And I don't know if this is true or not, because Central New York, that lake effect snow was brutal. But in my mind, Buffalo's even colder and even worse with the snow.
Yeah, honestly, this year has been pretty mild.
Okay.
We've had a few couple cold days, but I feel like recently we've had some warm days. We've had a few big snowstorms, but it hasn't been. There were definitely some worse years while I was at Hamilton. And I even joke too, my roommates are one's from Sweden, one's from Finland. And the Finnish one always says "Oh, I'm kind of liking this sunny weather." And I'm like, "Oh, just you wait. There could be a 6-inch snowstorm in April 1st. That happened last year when I was here. So definitely the winter's not over, even if we have one 40-degree day.
I think that's, no matter how old you are, what generation you're from, as part of the Hamilton community, we've all lived through some version of that. For me, it was like May 15th, my last final.
Yeah. Never, the snow never seems to end.
Nope, and you're stuck in it.
Yes.
Did you, maybe a dumb question, but did you go to Hamilton to play hockey?
Yeah, I was recruited there my senior year of high school. I had spoken to the coach a bunch before, had like verbally committed there before I like technically was in, I guess.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I was definitely hockey is what brought me there.
And you play hockey growing up?
Yeah, so I played. I probably got on skates when I was like 2 or 3. I have two
Oh,
older
wow.
brothers, and my town was just my parents weren't hockey players, but my town just like growing up in Massachusetts, there's a lot of people playing hockey.
When I first moved to Boston, it struck me what a hockey town it is here.
Yeah, like I feel like I mean in the town that I grew up in, I think when you were 10, there was like 5 different teams that they're fielding for just 10-year-olds. And I grew up starting to play with the boys, and then there was a girls program developed in my town when I was a U12, and so it was pretty cool to like get to do both growing up and have a pretty big like I played on both teams for a couple of years where I was on the girls and the boys team.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was like trying to follow in the footsteps of my older brothers by playing. And I just like I think I started with figure skates and I was like, Mom, when can I get hockey skates? When can I get hockey skates?
Did your brothers play in college?
No. So my oldest brother played through high school and then stopped. And my other brother stopped when he was younger. But me and my oldest brother would always still shoot pucks in the backyard and like, stick handle in the basement together. So I don't really like to tell him this, but like I can definitely credit a little bit of my success to him because he spent a lot
Huh.
of time kind of practicing with me.
That's awesome. Well, you not only followed in their footsteps, then you blew past those footsteps.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then what was your Hamilton experience like?
I loved it. Like the years prior to Corona, it was just like so much fun. I love the team. We were all so close. Every year I look forward to the winter break where we're all just like hanging out with each other. And definitely like the team was my core group of friends there, but everyone else there too was great. I was a math major and like I loved math classes that I take. And even I went to go visit campus in this fall when I drove from Boston to Buffalo. I stayed there for a day and like I saw Professor Dykstra and Professor Gibbons, and like it was just so nice to like talk to them again. And so like all aspects of it were a lot of fun.
And you mentioned COVID. You got 3 of your 4 seasons in. Is that right?
Yeah, so we had just finished our senior or my junior season. We were knocked out of the playoffs the week before spring break, so like the week before we all got sent home, which I could sort of see as a blessing because had we like won that year and continued on, we would have been like so hockey focused and likely had games canceled and would have been sad over not getting the chance to play. But every year when the season canceled or like once our season ends, we kind of all like hang out with each other and maybe do a little bit more partying than we're supposed to just because
Yeah.
we've been so strict during hockey season and we
Yeah.
got the chance to like all hang out with each other and like not think about hockey but just think about like the good times that we can have together. So it was pretty nice to have that experience like right before kind of getting sent home for COVID just because it definitely changed. Like I mean going through senior year with all those restrictions was hard,
Yeah.
and so it was nice to have those like memories to look back on.
Well, that's a mature way of looking at it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But then your senior season completely wiped out. So you're thinking at that point you're not playing hockey again?
Oh yeah, I was convinced. Like we were told, I think in October, that our season wasn't going to happen at all. We weren't going to play any games, and me and the other seniors on the team, kind of had a little like celebration slash mourning day of our season, and I was convinced my hockey career is over. I was like, you know what? Like I was really happy with the way my hockey career had gone before that. Like I loved my time at Hamilton. I enjoyed my time playing in high school. And I was like, I think when I look back, I feel like I had a successful career. So I didn't even think about that there was like the next steps.
But
But apparently there were.
not even an ounce of a thought. Like did you even think that was a possibility, or you were just on to what your career is going to be?
Um, I guess I didn't like dismiss it. I had a friend who went to college that I played against, like for 3 years and played with in high school. And she had played over in Sweden. And
Uh-huh.
in my brain, I was like, oh, maybe I could go play overseas. Like maybe if I, don't really figure out a job to do, or I kind of knew I would have like a job lined up for the summer based on like where I had worked before with the ice cream company. And so I like it was sort of in the back of my head, but I never really considered it like until I had been reached out to by like the general manager of the Beauts now. So I definitely like for a while I was like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm happy with it. I feel okay. I'm just accepting. Like I don't want to, sit on it for too long and just be sad that I didn't get a season instead of like being happy with the chances that I got.
And then what was it like when you got that phone call from the Beauts?
It was pretty cool. So there's kind of a whole process like before the draft. So I knew that the draft, like I knew that that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And
did you know? I mean, presumably they were scouting you. Did you know you were being scouted?
Not until they had kind of like reached out. And it was interesting because I could only like any video that they could have watched was video that was from my junior year or prior.
Right.
And luckily I feel like I ended my junior year on a pretty, like some of the best hockey I had played in my life, I feel like. And so it was kind of cool that is like what was coming before my playing. And yeah, it was like when they first reached out, I forwarded the email to my mom and she was like, oh my gosh, like she was so excited. And she was almost sadder that I didn't get a senior hockey season than I was just because my mom like loved coming to my games and like she became really close with the other parents on our team and my dad, but they like, you could tell that she was very upset that she couldn't come to like a senior night and all that stuff. So it was definitely like, I was really excited, but she was probably the most excited.
And was there ever a doubt or consideration of I am done with hockey, or when you got that call, you knew you were going for it?
There was definitely not doubt, just like a lot of like deep thought about it. Part of me, like I love to ski and like do a lot of like outdoor things, and with hockey you can't. And actually, my prior or like going into January of senior year, it was the first time I ever had a winter break in my entire life. And my older brother lives in Salt Lake City. So I had always kind of been saving up for during college for like a nice snowboard. I had wanted to buy one. Like I have snowboarded all growing up and I wanted to like buy a really good one that I'd be able to use for years after college. And I'd been on the same one since I was 10 because I was only going once or twice a year. There was no reason to buy a new one.
Sure.
And I bought one and then drove out west with an old hockey teammate. And we skied in like Colorado and Utah for a month. And then I drove back and like went and moved into school for the second semester. And so part of me was like, you know what, I was happy and I've been thinking for a while, like I'm really excited to try to be able to ski a lot on the weekends and take advantage of that and maybe move either somewhere that's closer to mountains or whatnot. So it was like, okay, do I take the other year of hockey? Like skiing kind of will always be there. Hockey won't necessarily always be there. So I had to capitalize on the opportunity when it presented.
Gotcha. And how's that been going for you? What's the transition like going from D3 Hamilton to playing with professional hockey players?
It was tough in the beginning. Definitely, I think not having the senior year, just like mentally, I was in a different, like I hadn't played hockey for a year. And
some rust.
We did practice. Yeah, like we did practice like twice a week while we were at school. But over the summer, I was definitely training a lot off the ice. But I just had a job where like some days I had to work like 12 to 14 hours. So I ended up not getting to like train on the ice as much as I wanted to. And even then, if I could get ice, it was like just me, shooting pucks around, which is very different than when you're playing with people competitively. And there's some people in our league that are really good. Like it amazes me that I get the chance to play with these people, just coming from Hamilton and coming from a D3 school. And there's a couple other D3 players, but like there's two girls on my team that won national championships with Clarkson at the D1 level. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm on the ice with them every day. Like it's so cool to like just be playing at this level. And yeah, it's been challenging too, because I think my role with what I had at Hamilton, I was playing a lot and like, I'd be on the ice for the end of games and on the ice for power play and PK. And that's not as much what I'm doing here, which I'm definitely, I didn't expect to do that coming in. And it mentally, when you don't get as many of those shifts in a game, there's no need to like conserve any sort of energy for the end of the game. Like you're just, when I go on the ice now, it's like, I don't know when my next shift will be. I just have to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. Which is not necessarily always how I felt at Hamilton, just given my role there. So
did it take some time to adjust to that sort of mentality?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really come to that realization until like probably after the first like 3 or 4 games. And I had told my coach about that, and she's like, it's actually really interesting. Like after seeing you play, like I kind of see how that mentality has shifted. So it's been like pretty cool to like really go through that and be in this different experience, because like most of my life it was being able to play a lot, but now it's like, okay, how can I fit the role that I'm here for, and which is different than it was in Hamilton. So
Yeah.
it's been a challenge, but I like it. Like it's fun too. Like we have a great team, and a lot of the girls are all close, and we like to, hang out on the weekends and stuff if we have a weekend off. So it's overall been a really good experience.
And the games are mostly on the weekends. Is that right?
Yeah. Right now there's still a bunch of girls that like either have part-time or full-time jobs. So they tend to just have the games on the weekends to kind of accommodate for that. Yeah, which is nice. So it's work on ice cream during the week and then go play some games.
Yeah. So what is that? So you're one of those people who have a job. What are you doing when you're not on the ice?
So I work for this company called Sisters of Anarchy Ice Cream. I started working for them the summer before my senior year. I kind of just got connected with them and lived in Burlington, Vermont for a summer, where they're based in Shelburne, Vermont. And it's a really small company. There's the owner, husband, wife couple, and then right now there's like 3 or 4 other employees. And like I kind of have just moved through a bunch of different roles with them. When I left for the first summer that I lived there, I was like heading back to school. And I did a lot of little like marketing help, which I have no marketing experience prior to this. Like Hamilton doesn't really have many they got rid of the communications major. So I didn't take any of those classes, but I kind of just like offered to help because it was such a small company and it was kind of fun to like learn something new. And I just kind of, when I left in the summer, I was like, oh, I'll keep working remotely. Like I'm happy to kind of keep helping with social media and like posting Google ads and stuff like that. So I worked part-time all of senior year. And then last summer they, wanted someone to like run their Boston operations, and because we did a lot of events there. And so because I lived in the Boston area, I already had a lot of experience with running events from living in Vermont the summer before. It was kind of like a perfect fit for me. And it was my original plan was work for them for the summer and then move to Buffalo and try to find a job in Buffalo or like a remote job. And then like the timing, everything was kind of just perfect where I finished for the summer and worked part-time in September. And then when I moved here, I was still working part-time, and they were like looking for a full-time marketing person, and the owners were kind of discussing like the things that they wanted out of this person, and they were like, wait, like Missy already does most of these things, like why don't we just have her work full-time? So it's kind of perfect because I work full-time remotely during the day, and our practices are mostly at night, although sometimes like tomorrow we're going to practice during the day so we can accommodate for our Boston travel. But the owners have been so nice with like accommodating with my hockey schedule. And it's great because like I can go to the gym, take an hour during the day to go to the gym. I don't have to go first thing in the morning. I can get some work done and then maybe work till like 6:30 to kind of accommodate for that hour that I went to the gym. But it's great. Like I love working for them. It's a small company. So even though my focus is kind of marketing, I do a whole bunch of different things. Like right now I'm working on some wholesale outreach to get people to buy our ice cream. And it's a really cool product that we sell. We make, it's kind of like a high end. We grow a lot of the flavor elements for the ice cream on a farm and then put that directly in. And then we source all the other ingredients as much as we can from Vermont. So like the dairy is from Vermont. The honey that we put in it comes from bees that are on our farm. So it's cool to be part of like a sustainable agriculture, like a growing business. It's just like, it's kind of everything I've wanted as like a young grad, because I never really knew like, and I still don't know like what I want to do fully with my life. But I think this is a great like gateway into it, because I've always like kind of entrepreneurship, and this is a great chance where if I ever have an idea and I'm like, oh, I think we should explore this, the owners are so receptive to those ideas and they're like, yep, go ahead, like do what you need to do. So
that's great.
It's fun to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're getting exposed to a lot of different elements of the business, which can only help you. It's like your own little mini business school opportunity without having to go back to business school. That's awesome.
Even the owner has an MBA, and she even said the other day, she was like, you're getting your little MBA in ice cream here. So it definitely feels like that. And even too, if there's a certain aspect of the business I'm interested in that I'm not working on day to day, it's like, I can ask the owners like, hey, can I, just like sit in on this, or will you tell me more about it? And it's great because like, I like to kind of pick their brains on this kind of stuff. They're both, the two owners are so smart and know a lot about businesses, and it's fun to be able to kind of like get experience from them.
And reading up a little bit about the brand, when you and I were first conversing over email, it's not surprising to me that they were accommodating to your situation, because it feels like you are very much on brand for them, as a, celebration of women creating anarchy, and here's a woman playing professional hockey and scrapping it up on the weekends. Kind of feels like you're sort of the right sort of face for the brand in many ways.
Yeah, they definitely they love the fact that I'm a professional hockey player, and they have 3 kids, and 2 of them are hockey players, and they
Oh,
play
wow.
other sports as well. So I think it's fun that they can see, like, if when they're playing hockey at the high school level, it's like, you know what, if I really want to take this somewhere and potentially make money one day and have it be my full-time job, they have someone directly in front of them that they see it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Um, so it's pretty cool. And I think they were athletes in college, so they kind of like that, like athlete mentality. And I think that's what kind of helped me draw them to them as well in the beginning, is that, like, athletes typically are a lot of times hard workers. Like, you don't get to the college athletics level without working hard kind of prior to that. So
Yeah.
there's a cool kind of like pull to that.
And in reading about the league, um, it's to be celebrated that it's a league that actually pays its players, right? Well, I think it's the first hockey league to do that, is what I read. Female hockey league to do that. And while, you you're not making millions and you're working another job, some interesting, at least seems like they've laid the groundwork for some interesting models to be replicated, or at least to give an opportunity for its players to make money, i.e. equity stake. You get a cut of every of one of your jerseys that sells. Is that right? So, and I just saw, it looks like they upped salary cap for next year. So maybe a little more scratch in your pocket moving forward. It feels like things are moving in the right direction, but not yet at a point where it can be your full and only job.
Yeah, so they, like, for me right now, especially as someone who's just out of college, I like being able to work kind of during the day, because I'm getting these 2, like, playing hockey and getting the chance to make some money from it is amazing, because that's kind of what I dreamed of as a kid.
Sure.
But I've always had this kind of other, like, entrepreneurial business interest. And so it's fun to see, like, to be able to, like, do both of those. And then the league they kind of announced in January that they're investing $25 million over the next 3 years. And I mean, the salaries that some of the top players, and even not even all the top players, but like rookies, they'll be making real money next year. Not that we aren't this year, but it's something that, like, you could potentially, if you want to, work a lot in the summer, that you don't have to work during the year, which is really cool, because having the ability to focus entirely on your off ice training, like, you can spend hours during the day at the gym, and then, really spend good quality time with recovery after the gym, and, get to practice early and maybe shoot pucks more. It's just having that extra time is so phenomenal. And I think next year they've really done a lot to invest in the players and invest in the league, and it's growing definitely in the right direction. So I'm really excited to see where this goes and how it all kind of play out. But like, it's amazing to see how much this league has grown, and they're definitely moving in the right direction.
How what are the crowds like? What kind of draw does Buffalo get?
Buffalo. So people say Buffalo has some of the best fans, and I definitely agree. We played on Monday. We had an outdoor game at Buffalo Riverworks, and it's this really cool facility where it technically has, like, a ceiling, but it's all outside. And then there's a few, like, bars inside, and they host all sorts of events. But the crowd there was just so much fun. Like, we beat the top team in the league on Monday, and which was, like, huge for us, because we kind of went through a little bit of a losing streak there. And I feel like now we're starting to bounce back, and we're beating teams that we had lost to before. And it was so fun. Like, there's a few guys that come to our games that are just so rowdy, and it's, like, so fun to have them there. And it kind of just helps hype us up. And we feel so supported by our fans in Buffalo. Like, even when we were kind of going through that losing streak, people showed up. And even though I'm a big time Pats fan too, like, just seeing the way Buffalo people are dedicated to Buffalo sports is pretty cool.
Is there a Beauts Mafia like there's a Bills Mafia?
Look up Beauts Mafia on Twitter. He's at almost all of our games. There does exist a Beauts Mafia, which is kind of cool.
That is very cool. And then you mentioned a Boston trip, so you're coming home, playing in front of your home crowd. That's got to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this weekend. Like, it'll be so great to see my parents, my family, but also like there's tons of Hamilton alumni coming. I mean, our Hamilton group is like the team we had there was so tight knit, and I got like tons of people coming to the game. We get like comp tickets to the game, and I've been trying to like ask as many people as I can for them. And people have been saying that like the Boston game this weekend might sell out, and I'm like, it might sell out because of like Buffalo fans. So it'll be pretty cool to see. Like, I'm just so excited to like be able to see everyone. And I feel so, even before the game, I feel so supported by so many people back home with the amount of people that have told me that they're going. So I'm very excited for that.
That's very cool. It's been, presumably this is the first chance some people have to see you play in quite some time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at least like, but like we play even in college. It's not like I was playing in like downtown Boston at all.
Sure.
I think we played one game at Endicott, which was the closest. So even like hockey coaches I had growing up, or like my parents' friends that I've been hearing for years, my parents talking about me playing hockey, they're like, oh, we can actually go to a game now. And it's fun that the amount of people that like maybe didn't get to see me play in high school or college are now getting to come. And then just getting the chance to like see some of my friends that I played with. I'm very excited for it.
That's awesome. And to the point about it being a sellout, I live about 10 minutes from the Warrior Arena, and decided I'm going to take my daughter to go see this. This is awesome. You know, we'll have her see some professional female athletes. And thought I'd have I was like, oh, I'll go in and I'll get some good seats. And there's no good seats to be had.
Oh, there is. I think they're
literally like just like a little handful of tickets here and there. So yeah, it is almost sold out. I can attest to that.
Yeah. I think my mom bought like maybe 10 to 20 tickets, like right off the bat, just to get a big area, like all settled in.
That's awesome.
And yeah, even like a few friends will be texting me being like, oh, I think I'm going to come. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like get your seat now. And I'm hoping they'll kind of allow people to move around so that like everyone can all sit together. But yeah, it's definitely like, it'll just be cool to play in front of a big crowd, because I've heard that in general, like if the Bruins are away, that the Pride do get a lot of fans, but it's pretty cool this time that I think a lot of the fans will be rooting for Buffalo.
So yeah, it sounds like it will. I mean, it's literally going to be a home game for you, but it sounds like it might be a home game for the Beauts. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And coming off a huge win, that outdoor win you talked about was against the league's number one team, wasn't it?
Yeah, against Toronto, which was really exciting. We had our first game of the season against them was really close, and I think we lost like 3-2 right at the end there. And we had a tough couple of games that we played up in Toronto when we came back from the Christmas break. So it was really nice to get a little bit of revenge and like make a statement to the league and say, you know what, we're still here. We're a good team. We know what we're doing. So, you got to watch out for us.
Awesome. How long you see yourself playing in this league?
Honestly, I don't really know. Kind of just like play. I don't like to plan things in advance very much. Even like I kind of waited, I waited till the last second to sign, because I'm just so bad at being like, oh, let me think about the future. I don't like to do that. So definitely we'll just kind of see how it plays out. Like, I'm not really sure. It'd be fun to definitely play a few more years, especially with the way the league is growing. Like it's going in the right direction. So
let's both sell some ice cream and sell some jerseys. So people listening to this and want to buy Sisters of Anarchy ice cream, where do they find it?
So our website is just sistersofanarchyicecream.com. Super easy to go up there. And if you use a coupon code MAIL22, you can get 10% off. So anyone that listens to this can get that.
Okay.
And also feel free, like we do a lot. I'm in charge of some of the social medias. So I suggest definitely following it. You can see some pretty fun content. We try to be, fun with it, and just it's a lot of people eating ice cream, but other good stuff. So it's just Sisters of Anarchy Ice Cream on Instagram and Facebook as well. Yeah.
All right. And then to put some money in your pocket directly, someone wants to go support the Buffalo Beauts, and particularly you. Let's sell some jerseys. How do we do that?
Yeah, you just go to the Beauts website. You go to the player profile, you look up Missy Segall, and right there you can get a jersey or a t-shirt. And the t-shirts are pretty cool. My mom got them for like our whole family at Christmas, and made everyone in our household wear them on Christmas morning. And seeing everyone wear them is pretty cool. So they've got a nice like number and signature on the back. And so I definitely, if you're looking for a new hockey jersey to buy, I definitely recommend number 15 on the Buffalo Beauts.
Number 15. It's a good number. 15 is a good number. They get the rookie a good number. I'm happy for you.
And I've been lucky. I wore 15 in high school and college. So I've had that number for like each time I joined a new team, it was just available, which is really lucky. So like all my stuff since I was little, it just says 15 on it, which is nice.
That's awesome. What you mentioned the speed and sort of the adjustment on the ice time, but what as you're going through the grind of a season, in some ways it's not as much of a grind number of games wise, I guess, or about the same. But what else do you find in playing professionally that is different? Because one is things to say, well, I got to work a full-time job, but as a Hamilton student, you were essentially doing that already. So seems to me like that experience is somewhat similar. Is it just simply the skill level is that much better?
Yeah, I definitely say that the skill level and just like the toughness, like I find myself getting like bodied a little bit more on the ice, I'd say, than I did in college.
Interesting.
But yeah, and even it's kind of nice because I feel like, I mean, I was a math major at Hamilton, environmental science minor, so I took some pretty tough classes and definitely tried to work hard. So I feel like this is the most time I've ever had in my life, because in college, like you're surrounded by, if you're like, I don't know, I'm a pretty social person, I'd say, and like you're 10 minutes from all your friends, like they're all within a 10-minute walking distance. So I kind of joke that I feel like prior to Corona and those like restrictions that we had, that like I was never bored in college. Like if I was, then I would just text someone and say, hey, like, let's just go sit in Commons for an hour. Like I used to, we on Saturday mornings, we'd wake up and sit in Commons and be there accidentally until like 2 p.m. or like we'd be there for 5 hours. And so it's weird now that like I'm living in a house in Lockport, which is just north of Buffalo.
Sure.
And I'm with a couple other girls on the team, but I'll finish with my work day at 5 p.m. and then practice might be at like 7:30. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 2 hours to just like sit on the couch and watch some TV, or like I made a work on the gym. And I feel like in college, there wasn't like a ton of time for that. At least like the pre-Corona Hamilton. And so it's definitely a different just like lifestyle than I've ever lived. Because I feel like in college, you're always doing something.
Yeah. You mentioned before your roommates and both European. Do you see a mixture of playing styles in this league? I mean, much is made in hockey about the European style versus the Canadian style or the North American style. Do you what sort of dominates this league in terms of style of play?
It's definitely a majority like North American players. There's a couple, but a lot of people went and played over in Sweden. And so I have 3 roommates. One is from Finland, one is from Sweden, and then the other got to play in Sweden for 2 years. She's from Minnesota. And so we kind of all have like, there's definitely a little bit of a different style. And I think especially for like one of my roommates is a goalie, and the ice in Sweden is almost always Olympic ice, versus here it's pretty much typically NHL. And although you occasionally like you'll be at Middlebury and you're playing on Olympic ice, and it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's similar and it's different because we're all just playing hockey. And everyone kind of in general has their own unique style. But yeah, it's been fun to like be able to play with people that have played all over the world. Because even a lot of players in the team just after college played in Sweden for a year or 2 years.
Do you now, are you feeding more Hamilton players into the GM and saying, hey, take a look at this person, take a look at this person? You're trying to build up the Hamilton network in the league?
I want to. There's definitely it'd be great to get another Hamilton player in Buffalo. There's a few that are graduating this year that I think definitely have the ability. And so it'd be fun to just have like, this is kind of the first time in my life where like when I was playing in college, I went to Rivers over in Weston, and a lot of people in the league that I played in high school on my club teams and on my high school team went and played in the NESCAC. So almost every NESCAC game, like I had a good buddy on the other team. And this is the first time in my life that hasn't happened. I like, there's maybe 1 or 2 players that I like went to a camp with when I was little, but none of them I played against in college. And some like maybe I had experience with in high school. And even like there's a girl on the Pride team who we went to the same high school, but she was a lot older than me. So I didn't ever get to play with her, but she kind of left like a really good legacy in my high school. And a lot of people like spoke very highly of her. So and I looked up to her as a player a little bit. So it'd be pretty cool to like get the chance to play against her. But it's kind of different in that sense.
You mentioned earlier that playing hockey as a career, playing professionally was a dream since you were a little kid. When you were a little kid, there wasn't really a league to aspire to. And now, do you ever think about the fact that there are little girls now aspiring to play, and they actually see you playing and are aspiring to be you? I mean, you're serving as a role model in a way that you didn't have not that long ago. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like thinking about when I was little, I'd always say like, oh, I want to play in the NHL one day when I was, a little 6-year-old. But that wasn't really, it's not really a possibility. Like that's something I would say, but it felt like something that I would just say. There's no meaning to it. But now some little 6-year-old, 10-year-old, they can say, oh, I want to play in the PHF. And it's like, yeah, if you work hard and you do your best, like you might get to play. And even when they're older, like it could very well be their full-time job and not even have to work in the summers. So it's pretty cool to do that. And even when we played the outdoor game, we had a lot of, because there was no school, there was a lot of like little teams, or there was a lot of teams there. And we signed like a ton of autographs after the game. And like I came out of the locker room at one point and someone was like, oh, you number 15? And I said, yeah. And they were like, oh my gosh, like, can I get your autograph? Will you sign my hand? And one girl was like, will you sign my phone case? And I signed her phone case. And this other girl was like, her mom's going to kill her. Like, why are you doing that? And I was like, oh my God, like this poor mother, I hope she doesn't get mad at me for this girl just handed me a Sharpie and stuck her phone out. But like, I wasn't going to games. There were the Olympians, which was cool to look up to and like kind of have the goal of playing in the Olympics. But I didn't have a player in my hometown that I could just easily go to their game on a Monday or like on the weekends, every other weekend they're playing home, that like I didn't have that chance to be able to go talk to those kind of people. And we've done something great. Even like the boys teams that were there, like we spoke to one on a Zoom call one time, just chatted with them, and they were all at the game on Monday, and we talked to them after, and they were like, oh yeah, it's so cool. And they had one girl on their team, and like being that one girl on a boys team when I was little, it's amazing to like be a role model for those people. And like they see what they can be, which is really nice.
That is awesome. That is really awesome. Well, you'll be a role model for at least one this weekend when my daughter's there.
Happy to.
Yeah. So I asked this of most everybody. If you think back to your arrival at Hamilton and through your 4 years there, and now through your successful hockey career here, is there anything you wish you had known back then?
I wish I had known that the pandemic was going to happen, which obviously can't. But I'm happy to say that I think I like spent my time prior to the pandemic the way I wanted to. But the pandemic definitely allowed for a lot of other things that I realized the school had that I had never taken advantage of before. So, I mean, the great thing about Hamilton is that it's D3 and you like are so encouraged to explore other opportunities. And I think like during my senior year, we spent so much time doing things from the outing club. Like we went biking and cross country skiing and like took the sleds out and took the snowshoes out. And I honestly wish I had like used more of that in the fall and spring when I could have. Like the outing club is like one of the coolest things ever there. And I love, like, as I was talking about earlier, I love skiing, and obviously like hockey has like, I love playing hockey too. So that's kind of been my main focus for most of my life. But I wish that in the fall I'd like gone on more hikes off campus or something, just because there's so much there. And when you're so kind of trapped on campus the way we were for senior year, you realize like how much you're missing out in the local area, especially like the Adirondacks are not that far away. So like definitely use your time the best you think you can, and like don't be afraid that there might be a pandemic coming. Like just you shouldn't regret your time.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't regret the time you had before the pandemic if it does come again, or like which we never want to happen. Like it was brutal, the feeling, like the sinking feeling of getting sent home and whatnot. But definitely there's so many things at Hamilton to take advantage of, and you're never going to have access to those resources the way that you do at the school again. So definitely there's so much there, and I'm glad that they provided to all the students.
I think hearing you say that puts the comment you made before about sort of the realization of what life was like outside of hockey when you went on your month-long skiing trip or weeks-long skiing trip. The realization of all the life that's out there. It's a common comment I get from people when I have these conversations about, I wish I had done all these other things, or I wish I had known there were all these things available to me. So I think it's powerful advice to give people, for sure.
Yeah, and I think definitely people get so focused in on their sport or their class, and it's like, let's focus in on everything we have around us, because it's hard to do at Hamilton because there's so much that you do have to pick a few things. And interestingly, I remember my freshman orientation trip, my orientation leader had kind of talked about how he wished he spread himself very thin on all the amazing things Hamilton has to offer, and he didn't get to focus in on like as many things as he like didn't get to focus as much. So I think like I took that advice and then I focused in on a little, like, not that I focused too much on hockey. Like I loved playing hockey, but I think I could have thought about other things in the beginning. And so it's funny, like the way I went through my experience and then the way that my orientation leader had, where it was kind of the opposite. And I think like just find a few things you love and like stick to them. And whether that be your sport, your classes, or the outing club or other clubs, there's just so much there.
Well, and there's something in what you just said that sort of hints at, you know, the idea of enjoy the moment, get the most out of the moment, because you don't know what's going to come next, right? And I think about that in the context of you saying what you put on film in the end of your junior season ultimately led to you becoming a professional hockey player, right? And at that point, you didn't know that was going to be the last hockey you played at Hamilton. You were just playing hard and playing good hockey, and look where that led, right? And then, you know, sort of the approach you take to playing hockey now of, if I'm going to get that shift, I'm going to give it my all, because that might be the only shift I get or whatever it may be. There's some sort of lesson in there as well. So it seems to be a theme with you.
Yeah. And I think too, like the most exciting Hamilton game that I played was our quarterfinal game my junior year. We played Williams and we were down, I think like 3-1 or 4-1 or something going into the third period. And we came back to win in like the last 2 seconds of the game. And like thinking about that is one of my last like Hamilton hockey memories is just amazing, because we were just so focused in on winning the game and like doing our best and like being there for each other and supporting everyone. And like, we had a goal and it was to win the game. And in that moment, that's what we needed to focus on, which was great. And I'm glad that we were able to do that. And like, even though we lost in the semifinals a week later, like, I'm so happy I got that memory and like get to live back and like think about that game, because it was so cool. Like, it was one of the funnest games I've ever played in.
Awesome. Well, I think it seems like maybe this weekend's going to be pretty fun for you.
Yeah, this might be a second to that one. Just again, like getting to play in front of the home crowd, or like my home crowd.
Yeah.
Even though we're technically away, it's gonna feel like a home crowd, and like almost it's kind of like a reward to my parents. Like, they spent so much time and effort driving me to games when I was little, buying equipment and just like supporting me in every way possible. Like, I think my mom went to every game ever at Hamilton, except maybe the first one she like accidentally missed. And like she made an effort to go to almost every game, and even has come to Buffalo to watch a game. Like, she got to watch my first pro game here. And I think like her getting to watch me play professional hockey in Boston, like it makes me so happy to know how happy that has made her.
All right, that's Missy Segall, class of 21. Professional hockey player. How cool is that? Remember, if you want to catch Missy in action, you can watch her games on ESPN Plus or Twitch. And if you want to show your fandom and support Missy, put a couple bucks in her pocket, go to buttes.premierhockeyfederation.com, click on Missy Segall, pick up a jersey or a shirt or both. Nothing says you can't have multiple Missy Segall items. Show your Beauts fandom, your Missy Segall fandom. Again, Beauts, BEAUTS, .premierhockeyfederation.com. And if you want to get your hands on some of that delicious sounding ice cream Missy was talking about, go to sistersofAnarchyicecream.com. And they'll ship you some pints. My thanks to Missy for joining this week. Best of luck to her in her second game at home in Massachusetts against the Pride. And best of luck to her and the Beauts the rest of the season. You have been listening to Had I Known on WHCL-FM, Clinton, New York. HadIKnown.buzzsprout.com. Had I Known Show on social media. As always, my thanks to Dr. Michael Woods for supplying the music on the show. And once again, Doc is going to play us out. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
Had I Known podcast show on your radio or take it to go.